this big, beautiful bill? Well, if beauty is in the eye of the beholder, then you, GOP, you have a very blurred vision of what America is about. Is it beautiful to cut off food from seniors and children? Is it beautiful to do this?
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Nancy Pelosi. Look at that. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Emerita, has decided. Oh, she had to speechify on the one big, beautiful bill. And I guess she's probably also going to make a statement about whether or not vision benefits will be cut by the one big, beautiful bill. I'm surprised she didn't work that into that. I wonder what Nancy Pelosi's thinking about her decision to step aside and let Hakeem Jeffries lead this. I'll bet she's regretting it right now. Absolutely got to be regretting it. By the way, yesterday, she was the big finish to their conga line dance of people asking for an amendment to the bill. So, Nancy Pelosi, welcome back, Madam Speaker Emerita. As Chris would say, what a maroon. It's Mike Opelka in from my buddy Chris Blanth on the Chris Blanth Show on this July 3rd adventure. We are hoping to resolve the phone problem. Right now, it looks like we're riding without phones, but you're welcome to send in questions, any and all questions, at 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. Of course, we are monitoring everything that's going on in the House, but so far the only thing is Hakeem Jeffries is speaking and reading from his binder. And he's not really reading anything interesting. All we want is to see this resolved, this whole thing wrapped up today. Let's get it done. Let's get the vote. Let's have an Independence Day celebration, although judging from the way Chuck Schumer was grilling hamburgers, cheeseburgers that looked like they were still frozen, and even though he had the cheese, I don't think they understand what a real Independence Day celebration is about for Americans. You know, for people who love the country. I feel like they're not, as I said, as Chris likes to say, on our side. We have many other things to talk about. I mentioned the economy, the big news on the economy. This was gigantic news. Stronger than expected. 147,000 jobs added in June, and the unemployment rate dropped. And I also saw the reporting on the price of eggs has dropped considerably. Absolutely fallen greatly. And yet we keep hearing from Jeffries and the Democrats, it's too expensive for everybody. And in New York City with that Mandami guy, he wants to open government grocery stores. And I'm sure you've heard that the gentleman who owns the gigantic chain of grocery stores in New York City is talking about moving out of New York because he doesn't want to be in business against the government. Just amazing. I don't know how much interest you have in the P. Diddy story. I had very little confidence that Mr. Diddy was going to be found guilty of racketeering, and that seemed to be an overcharging. But he looks like he's going to stay in prison until his sentencing. I know they were trying to do that. The defense attorneys were trying to convince the judge to let P. Diddy out. But no, he's going to stay there. It just seems bizarre to me that none of these people that we hear, we have all this video evidence on, the Sean P. Diddy Combs, the Epstein videos, where the heck are those? The Harvey Weinstein story. Why is there no real justice in terms of what you and I expected? It seems like Mr. Diddy's going to get away with it. Absolutely. The other stories that I want to make sure we cover today, and there are some pretty fun ones out there today in order to get ready, is that USAID, now under the care of Secretary of State Marco Rubio, USAID is going to be closing a whole bunch of places that were giving your money to people that hate us. And I'm so happy that that's happening. I'm so thrilled that's happening. I love the fact that the Secretary of State is now the Supreme Court has ruled that President Trump's executive actions can get stuff done, that we are going to see a lot of these dumb programs are now going to end. But over at CNN, they're upset. And they want us to tell everybody that if we stop all the USAID programs, that people are going to die everywhere. There's going to be people dropping dead. This goes back to the original argument about the Affordable Health Care, which ironically named Affordable Health Care Act, that we were told if we didn't do this, there would be people dying in the streets. Well, now we're being told the same thing about this shutting down of USAID. If we do this, there's going to be people everywhere, starving, dying in the streets.
USAID has officially shut down tonight. A new study found that its elimination could contribute to 14 million deaths in the next 5 years.
Now, Caitlin Collins over at CNN says a new study out tonight. Would we like to get some credibility behind that study? Would you like to give us some, I don't know, maybe facts about who put out the study? And what does it mean? Because we were also told, if you remember, that the vaccine would prevent everyone from getting COVID. And then we were told, no, it's going to prevent you from spreading COVID. And then we were told it's going to lessen the COVID. So we're all in on studies. Go ahead, continue though, madam.
Nearly a third of which are estimated to be among children younger than 5 years old.
So it's all about the kids. You know, they always go to the kids. They always want us to know. And if Nancy Pelosi were here today, you'd hear her talk about children. It's the children that are going to suffer the worst. But Collins isn't alone over at CNN. Anderson Cooper, yeah, he jumped on the bandwagon too.
Now, a new study in the medical journal The Lancet estimates that U.S. aid funding cuts could result in millions of additional deaths in the next 5 years.
So at least, I give Cooper credit, at least he quoted The Lancet, British medical journal. I'd like to see a statement on the accuracy of the Lancet studies going forward, but she's echoing the same thing. Millions in the next 5 years.
These deaths include 4.5 million among children younger than 5 years or more.
There you go. Children.
More than 700,000 deaths annually.
The Washington Post reports that the cuts have already had a sudden, deadly impact on Sudan.
Now, Sudan, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe one of the S-hole countries. It's one of the worst places on earth. And yes, we have been very generous. We as a nation, because we are so prosperous, have been very generous with our help to others. But, we've got a $37 trillion deficit, and it seems like maybe we should be a little more attentive to the deficit before we start handing out money that we don't have. But it is all about fear porn.
Home to the world's largest humanitarian crisis. The Post is reporting that according to dozens of civilians, doctors and aid officials, babies have starved to death as soup kitchens supported by the U.S. were forced to close. Also, medical supplies are no longer even being delivered, and the absence of disease response teams has made it harder to contain outbreaks. The World Health Organization says 5 million people there could lose access to life-saving services due to those cuts.
So the World Health Organization, that sounds like a really reliable group of people, doesn't it? It sure does. Oh, wait. The World Health Organization is a bunch of grifters. They're a bunch of people who take the hundreds of millions of dollars that we have provided over the decades and put it in the pockets of their people. So, no, I'm not all in on helping the World Health Organization. I'm not even close to being in any way, shape, or form on helping the WHO. Correct me if I'm wrong, but President Trump took us out of the World Health Organization, and then, unfortunately, in 2020, when Joe Biden got elected, air quotes with my fingers, didn't know it, put us back in. And I want to make sure we're out of it again. I think we really need to make sure we're out of it again. Hopefully. But it's just astounding to me how far these people will go to sell this. Absolutely astounding. I really think the fear porn has to stop. The fear porn and the panic porn, especially as it is surrounding USAID. Now, are there programs that we as a nation should make sure are out there if we can help people? Should we? Yes. But again, I'm looking at the $37 billion that we have amassed in debt, and we're really not doing anything about it. Really not doing anything at all about it. Instead, we're pushing the election of communists in the biggest city in the country. I really believe that that's what the media is starting to do. This guy Mandami. I think the left, especially the left in New York City, is totally taking the Kool-Aid, drinking the Kool-Aid on this, and they're all in on possibly bringing Mandami to a leadership role. I don't understand why they don't realize it. It's going to affect them. They're not, well, maybe they're just not smart. They're used to being spoon-fed stuff through talking points memos every single day. And CNN is the worst on it. The only one who seems to step up is Scott Jennings when he faces off against these people and tries to tell them it's a problem if you're going to elect a communist, even though they think he's a socialist. But this guy came out and said he wants to confiscate the means of production. Anyone remember studying communism in high school even? Yes, the means of production was what the government was into taking over and then deciding where the money would go, starting with themselves first. But when Scott Jennings dares to bring it up, it starts a small brush fire on CNN.
But calling him a communist is not far off base when he talks about seizing the means of production. That is a communist party plank.
Now, that's Pete Seat, who has an interesting rhyming name. That's Pete Seat. Oh, you're in the Pete Seat. Enjoy it. He's a former White House spokesperson under George W. Bush, and he's pointing out the problem with someone like Mandami, a communist. But wait, there's more, because the outrage is about to break out.
He is talking about doing that, so I don't have any problem with calling him what he is.
And I don't have any problem calling Donald Trump a felon or charged with rape, or the fact that he doesn't pay his vendors, or the fact that he's racist because he illegally discriminated.
Say, I love this, because this is Bakari Sellers coming out saying, oh, yeah, but what about Donald Trump? He's charged with rape. Not even close to being convicted of it from that crazy woman, and the rest of those felony charges are still under appeal. But you go ahead, and then Scott Jennings has to step in, because Scott Jennings, I guess he's probably going to be leaving CNN soon. He's got a big new gig coming up. And why shouldn't he? He's really good. He has to take on Bakari Sellers.
He illegally discriminated against
he was
so I don't have any problem. And you're right. And
As
you know
all
what?
of
You
those
may
things.
have a Democratic socialist elected as mayor of New York City.
No, you agree with Pete that he is a communist then?
He's not a
He's a socialist.
He said seize the means of production.
He's a socialist.
He's a socialist. And the only thing wrong with socialism is it's never been done right. We know it's never been done right. Yes. Sure. Oh, my goodness. I have to take a break. If you want to share a question with me, I'm trying to answer questions. We're still having a little issue with the phones today. The phones are open, 888-630-9625. It is Mike Opelka in for my buddy Chris Plant on this Independence Day Eve on The Chris Plant Show.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris.
Happy Thursday, and it feels like a Friday, doesn't it? Yes, it's the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plant, kicking off your Independence Day weekend, and we had anticipated at this point in the show that we'd be listening to President Trump talking about the signing of the one big beautiful bill. They're going to have a ceremony. There would have been a celebration after the passage because it went through the House meat grinder about 3 o'clock this morning, and everything was fine and dandy. And then came this little thing called the Magic Minute, which is really not magic, and it's nowhere near a minute. As a matter of fact, it is currently at 5 hours and 32 minutes long that Hakeem Jeffries has been speechifying in the House, just making stuff up and denigrating the one big beautiful bill. He's not a happy guy. He is not even close to being happy. He's not been in the same zip code as happy for quite some time. And he's not any of the other dwarfs either, if you want to say. He's not happy. Well, he might be grumpy. He might be dopey. He's certainly not Doc. But Hakeem Jeffries speechifying. C-SPAN has finally put a clock showing how much time he's talking. And what we really need is the Cory Booker number right underneath it so we can see how close he is to the Cory Booker number. Let's see. Well, if he gets to 7 hours, which would be near the end of the show, then all bets are off. Then I think he may go all day. I think he may try. But these folks who are behind him have got to be getting tired. They have to be. Jerry in Thurmont, Maryland, asked the question of the Chris Plante Show, why can't Dems come up with a better bill? They're Democrats. That's why. No, they're not going to want efficiency in government. Remember, they freaked out over Doge. How dare you think government can be smaller? What's wrong with you? So, no, Jerry, good question. Very good question. The programs, Alan in Chicago wrote, the programs aren't helping the poverty, the USAID programs. That's right. And very few of the programs help the poverty. The Democrats are trying to make sure there's no cuts to SNAP. They claim they want to save Medicare, Medicaid, but they don't have any answer when you ask them, what about all of the people who are illegal and getting it? Well, it's against the law for them to get it. Yes, but you guys made it available. I think there are at least 2 million in the state of California alone. And we'll get that little clip from Arnold Schwarzenegger, who appears to be having some kind of a wake-up. But yeah, we'll talk about that. We also have a follow-up on my take on alligator Alcatraz, which I said we should be calling the Gator Gitmo. We'll get to that. And someone has suggested that maybe bongos would help with Hakeem Jeffries, that if we added bongos underneath. Let's just sample.
That was sent to Congress to protect their interests.
Would the bongos help? Oh, we're going to find out. We'll do that after the break. It's just around the corner. I want to know. Bongos under Hakeem Jeffries? Maybe that's the direction this needs to go. It's Michael Opelka for Chris Plante on The Chris Plante Show. It is The Chris Plante Show. Welcome to it. Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plante. And just amazed. I'm going to make a prediction right now. I don't think Hakeem Jeffries is going to set the record. The record in the House for a speech, the longest speech like this, is 8 hours, 32 minutes by former GOP leader McCarthy in 2021. So 8 hours and 21 minutes. Jeffries is under 3 hours away from that, but he looks like he's at the end of his binder. It looks like he's about to give up the ghost, but you never know. He could reset. The back row right behind him has already been reset once already, and Democrats, I guess they've got cots set up in their offices where they're taking naps. We've had Democrats falling asleep, which is just too funny. So once this gets finished, once this show is over, all this drama is done, they will vote. There will be a vote, and it looks like everything is headed towards passage. And then there will be a big ceremony, and the president will get what he has wanted all along, the one big, beautiful bill. But it's not like Donald Trump isn't working while all of this is going on, just reported from the White House.
Peter Doocy at the White House. And Peter, the president says he's making another important call this hour.
Yes, right this minute, according to Truth Social, and a post that we just got from the president, it says, we'll be speaking to President Putin of Russia at 10 o'clock a.m. Thank you. And
so there it is. So not only is the president waiting on the passage of the one big beautiful bill, it kind of looks like he's making progress on other things, talking with Vladimir Putin. And yesterday we got the announcement that Israel had basically accepted the conditions for a 30 to 60-day ceasefire with Hamas. And I will believe it when I see it. But, you know, President Trump now has a record of being the president that is starting to have peace break out all over the world. The one thing that people overlook, and I really wish the media, I'm talking about the honest media, not the left side of the mainstream media, I wish the media would report on what happens when peace breaks out. What happens when Iran says, okay, we're going to stop shooting at Israel? And what happens when Hamas and Israel stop fighting with each other? There is a massive benefit to each one of those countries and to the world. It is a peace dividend. We can have peace and then watch prosperity follow. And I don't think the media is giving enough credit to the peace dividend. I wish they would. Because they're not going to give any credit to Donald Trump. That's just one of those things. If you have a question you'd like to ask about what's going on today, you can. It is 888-630-9625. Jane is on the phones. We're not able to get too many of the phones through. But I am taking questions. We're having a little bit of a technical issue, so we will do that. Mike in Middletown, New Jersey said I should call Hakeem Jeffries the bottom whisperer, not a proctological nuisance. That's not the image I needed right now. But thank you for that. Thank you for that, Mike. Ooh, that's no. I call him a proctological nuisance because he's a pain in that area. But interesting perspective, Mike. Thank you for that. Yes, Chuck in Cedar Hill, Tennessee said nothing Trump does will make Dems happy. That is true. Although there is a great amount of attention being focused on one Democrat who I'm willing to put $1 on the board right now and say the Democrats are going to primary this guy. And that is the shorts-wearing, hoodie-wearing John Fetterman, this senator from Pennsylvania, who is basically speaking honestly to his party. And what do they say to him? Pretty much get back in line. In the GOP, you have many people who have spoken out against this bill, and in the end, they will vote to give the party and the president their agenda and their success. But they're not discouraged from speaking. In the case of Fetterman, I guarantee you he's going to be primaried. I'll make the call right now. Bet on Connor Lamb taking on Fetterman in a couple of years. We'll see what happens. It's one of those things. The other end of this, and Jason Kensington, who always is a great contributor to this party, saying Dems know they can't win, but they're putting a brand on themselves. Yeah, they want to try and say, it's virtue signaling. That's what's going on here. This is major league virtue signaling from the Democrats. And thank you, Jason. Good day, as you say. Before we went away, I was speculating about bongos and Hakeem Jeffries. If his 5 hour and 46 minute speech would be any better if we had bongos underneath it. So let's see what we could do with a kind of a random bongo track and Hakeem Jeffries.
That was sent to Congress to protect their interests.
We are watching Hakeem Jeffries live in the House. His magic minute is now in this 5th hour. We're going to watch a little bit of this before we bring the show. Let's go back live.
Sure.
Says this was one of the hardest votes I have taken during my time in the Senate. Let me just editorialize there briefly. This should not be a hard vote, Senator Murkowski. This should be a hell no vote on behalf of the people you were sent to Washington to represent.
I
hell no vote for us.
I don't know if that helps or hurts. I really don't know. I think it might make it a slightly touch more palatable if we had somebody on the side playing bongos. The other thing that's really interesting that isn't there, and this is, again, part of the Democrat virtue signaling, do you notice there's no one doing the interpretation? Usually at every public event that Democrats do, and in many cases Republicans as well, there's somebody doing the American Sign Language. And I just think that would be cruel and unusual punishment to make people sit there for 5 hours and 48 minutes and watch an American Sign Language interpreter kind of figure out what's going on here. And as we said earlier, if Jeffries did not have the pauses, the Shatner-esque pauses in his speech, all of this would be done. All of it. It would have been over hours ago, but he's still there, and I'm kind of watching because of the binder. Most of the pages are now, again, on the left side, which means like he may have started over again. He may have designs on doing this forever and ever and ever. I don't have designs on talking about it forever and ever and ever. We have other things that we have to address. There are so many stories. I talked about the economy, a bit about the numbers that came out. There's some very promising numbers that came out recently, this morning, in fact, jobs numbers that are showing the number of people who work for the federal government is way down. And that is due to DOGE and the DOGE cuts. But the other story that, and I'm happy about that, very happy about that, that's kind of what we voted for. The other story that made some news yesterday, and I think it's important to realize just how significant this is, CBS News is paying up very bigly. CBS News is coughing up at least $16 million that will go to the Trump Library, Trump Museum, whatever happens after Donald Trump's second term. And it's all because they, CBS News, 60 Minutes, interfered with the election. What did they do? They took an interview with Kamala Harris, which many of you may not remember it because now who really cares about Kamala Harris at this point? I think she's really insignificant. And I know there's a fear she will run for governor of California, but I'm dubious about that too. But 60 Minutes took an interview with Kamala Harris and took the answer and changed it on air. Here's what originally happened. Here's the actual moment on 60 Minutes.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it's boom, right? That is word salad. Classic Kamala Harris word salad. Nothing really said, right? A bunch of movements in the region that were prompted by what? What did you even say? Well, that's not what actually aired on 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes took the interview with Kamala Harris and completely changed the answer.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it seems that...
Yeah, so is that not the most insane edit? And but for some of the people on social media, there's a guy named Maze Moore who is on social media. He is the guy who caught it. He caught that. Originally, CBS put out the first word salad from Kamala Harris. That was posted online. And then when the show aired, it was completely cleaned up and changed. The answer, when it aired on television, was vastly different, both in content and context, to the original real answer. And thank God for people like Mays Moore who put this stuff out there. But for that, and I think if I were Donald Trump, maybe a little finder's fee, maybe a little slice, get the beak wet of people like Mays Moore. The guy certainly deserves a little something. It's just amazing to me. And how that number isn't bigger. It may get bigger. It may grow before we know the final answer on that. There may be a secondary twist on this. But just remember the beginning of that. This is truly one of the most remarkable 38 seconds in American political history. And the same question is asked in the original clip and the doctored clip. Check it out again.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen.
So the work we've done prompted many things to happen that were because of the work we've done and the things we've done in the region that we've done. And that alone, had that aired on 60 Minutes, I guarantee you, she wouldn't even been close to where she was in the election. Again, here's how they fixed it.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Boom. Just so disgusting. $16 million, the payout on that one to end the suit for election interference. I think that is a bargain, CBS. I think you should be thrilled that that's all it cost you. We'll get into this more. Who else is out there in the world of possible Democrats running in 2028? We always talk about how the GOP bench is deep. Yes, you have J.D. Vance, who's already there. Yes, you have Marco Rubio, who's doing an outstanding job. Yes, you even have Governor DeSantis, who's sounding more and more presidential every time he gets in front of a microphone, and that's just a couple. But what about the Democrats? They appear to be at a loss for serious candidates. I know Newsom thinks he's got it in the bag. But what about some of the ones in the media? What about the Stephen A. Smiths? What about the Arnold Schwarzeneggers? Schwarzenegger can't run for president, but he could run for governor. And is he coming back to his Republican roots, or will he curry favor with the left again? We'll see. I want to get into some of that. You're welcome to share your questions as we monitor. It's now 5 hours, 55 minutes that Hakeem Jeffries has been spewing his verbal diarrhea on the House floor with no sign of him fading at all. I have to say, I got to give him credit. And I do wonder what's keeping him standing there and not needing to run down the hallway, as they say. It's Mike Opelka. I'm in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show. Welcome back to The Chris Plant Show. It's Mike Opelka with you as we are just about to kick off the July 4th weekend. Independence Day is all but here, and we're watching now 6 hours of Hakeem Jeffries. And they're all excited because he's less than 3 hours away from setting a new record for the longest floor speech. And wouldn't that be a gigantic waste of time? I think it would be. But here we are. And the question is this guy doing this because he thinks it's going to help him become the leader in the House? I don't think it's going to endear him to too many people. Although Democrats who seem to be taking the Kool-Aid on all this, they seem to be all wrapped up in this. They're all agog, if you will. And he's now over 6 hours, 6 hours and 2 minutes into his rant, which isn't really going to do anything. Nothing will change. And this may be the greatest example of what's wrong with politics, particularly Democrat politics in America. If you know you're not going to change anything, why are you doing this? The American people are hip to this. This is just a waste of time. This is just you guys trying to get attention for yourselves. And I do think there are Democrats who have figured it out and they want to change it. They want to be the Donald Trump candidate for the Democrat Party. And one of those people is sportscaster Stephen A. Smith, the guy they frequently refer to as Stephen A. I'm not a big fan of this guy, but I do know that he could probably pull some people from the middle. He was on yesterday going after Oprah.
All these celebrities, Jennifer Lopez, Beyonce, Oprah.
If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again.
You're going to look an audience in the face and you're going to tell them that if you vote for Donald Trump, you may not ever be able to cast a vote again. Who believed that?
See, I like the reality here, and I think that's a breath of fresh air among Democrats calling out his own party for their Bravo Sierra. That Stephen A. Smith is saying, hey, look, Oprah, did anybody really believe that tripe that you were putting out there? This is where I think the Democrats, if they dare to go outside of the party regulars, might have some traction. I don't think they're smart enough to do that yet.
Who believed that coming from Oprah?
Nobody.
Truly, who believed that?
Nobody.
This is the kind of stuff that alienates an electorate, that alienates a vote or a voter. Because the freedom that you tell them they have, you try to confiscate morally by letting them know you ain't worth a damn unless you vote the way we say you should vote.
Somebody gets it. Somebody gets it on the left, but I hope they're not getting it too much. I hope they're not waking up to that. That's just my personal opinion. Hopefully. Now, Stephen A. may be a candidate. He has kind of hinted that he could be a candidate. I don't think he has as much of a chance as maybe a Gavin Newsom, because the establishment is still pretty strong inside the Democrat Party. And while they're all saying they're searching for a media candidate like Donald Trump, the reality is if they find someone who's telegenic, if they find someone who can speak decently, as Stephen A. Smith can, what they're going to be lacking is the managerial experience, the businessman experience of a Donald Trump. So keep chasing celebrities, Democrats. It's not going to help. It's Mike Opelka wrapping up the second hour of the Chris Plant Show. Come on back. We'll kick off the third hour and kick off Independence Day weekend next on the Chris Plant Show.